#1 rated 5 o'clock news.
Good afternoon, everyone. During an annual audit of school funds, school officials in Hayesville made a disturbing discovery. The discovery, which has resulted in a criminal investigation by the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Department. Ronda Schwab is just back from Hayesville with the story. Ronda.
That's right, Susan. Sources tell Eyewitness News that at least $10,000 in missing funds from the campus high school activity account have turned up. The activity account is made up of funds collected from school board money, such as book fees, but it is also collected from student fundraisers. The idea that someone would take money from the account has the school superintendent understandably upset.
Anytime you deal with public funds and dealing with public trust, that's a rather heavy burden. The situation becomes one of that's heavy enough, but then you add on top of that we are talking about student-generated funds. That becomes extremely difficult.
Stevens is hoping the Sheriff's Department will find no criminal wrongdoing and that something simple like a computer glitch will turn out to be the culprit. Stevens says that since the discovery last month, corrective action has been taken to avoid the chance of further or continued loss.
And what does that action involve?
Well, Susan, that entails 3 people personally going through each and every transaction in the account and counting it. And he hopes that that will take care of the problem.
Okay. Hopefully it will. Thank you, Ronda. More at 6. For the first time ever, hard liquor will be
Unrated weekend news.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. The statewide weather picture was good for holiday travelers today. Ronda Schwab is at Mid-Continent Airport right now, and she joins us live with a look at the biggest travel day of the year. Ronda, how are things at the airport right now?
Well, it's thinning out right now, but Julie, today there were hordes of happy travelers out. And the weather seems to have played a major part in putting the smiles on their faces. We begin our coverage right here at Mid-Continent. Most flights in and out of Mid-Continent Airport were running on or ahead of schedule this afternoon, and that had workers and passengers counting their blessings.
Yeah, the whole Thanksgiving weekend's been real nice just because of the weather and everybody's been cooperative. So it's been a good weekend.
What was the most enjoyable thing about your trip today?
The most enjoyable thing, it was a nice smooth trip. On time, early in fact.
Passengers who arrived from Seattle left rainy weather behind them, but where flights connected in Denver, weather was clear. Dallas, Texas passengers said they left mild weather in that state as well. Thousands of people traveling on Kansas roads and highways over the weekend may have been slowed down by rain yesterday, but the Highway Patrol says motorists took advantage of today's good driving conditions to head home.
It seems to be a little heavier this year for some reason. I don't know. We've had pretty good weather this year. In the past, like 2 years ago or so, we had a pretty good ice storm that really cut down on traffic, but this year's been pretty good.
A Turnpike Authority worker says she saw strong traffic in the afternoon hours and wasn't expecting it to slow down until late Sunday evening. And Julie, when the holiday weekend officially ends tonight at midnight, 3 people will have lost their lives on Kansas roads and highways since the counting period began at 6 p.m. Wednesday. And while we wish that number was 0, it is less than half the number of lives lost during the Thanksgiving weekend last year. 10 people were killed in traffic accidents on Kansas roads and highways in 1987 during this period.
Okay, Ronda, thank you very much for that live report from Mid-Continent Airport. As Ronda could tell us, and those of you who have been outside in the last couple of hours know that the temperatures are dropping pretty much.
Wichita's homeless march in protest over news coverage about one of the city's homeless shelters. That protest, our lead story this noon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kevin Nunn. Thanks for joining us. Kim Petty has the day off. About a dozen people marched in protest this morning through downtown Wichita. That march was sparked by media coverage of a local homeless shelter. Last week, several social agencies announced they would no longer refer people to Hometel, a shelter for the homeless. Ronda Schwab has been covering the march and joins us now live with the story. Ronda.
Kevin, residents of the Hometel shelter are upset by the terminology used by the Eagle Beacon newspaper in describing them as homeless and, quote, mentally ill, unquote. Reflected that sentiment and their need to be heard. Upon reaching the Eagle Beacon newspaper, a shelter spokesman prepared to deliver a signed petition to the paper's editors outlining their concerns about allegations by the 4 agencies withdrawing their support of the shelter.
So we hope the conference today in specific is to do away with the theory that the shelter is just basically a mentally ill shelter. We hope to show the community that we are human beings, we have rights.
And Kevin, the march was organized solely by residents of the shelter, and they also wanted to show their support of this man standing here with me now, Director Bruce Cook. Bruce, has the organizations involved specifically told you of what the allegations are?
No, basically the organizations involved have never been in our facility, have never asked to come to our facility even though they've been asked to. They have never given us any support from the day that we started, so they really didn't drop anything that they had never done in the first place.
As the shelter's director, what is your response to all of this?
Well, my response is that I thank the community because the community response has grown, has been very positive. Our residents have been strengthened from us. They've done what they needed to do, and I think now that it's time that we basically put this behind us, move on with our Miracle Christmas program and the other programs that the residents have developed, and begin our lives. And, we thank the community for their continued support, and we encourage anyone that would like to come and visit our facility, visit our residents, if they have any additional concerns, to talk with our president of our board, Brian Clark, and go through the proper channels, which is our executive board.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Kevin, we spoke with one of the agencies involved in those allegations, and we'll have his reaction later today for you. Back to you, Kevin.
All right, Ronda Schwab reporting live from downtown Wichita, competing, I might add, with the siren testing. Thank you, Rhonda. A recommendation by the Nebraska Department of Roads could result in good news for drivers in North.
Please help us this weekend with our food drive. Virginia Bell is here to tell us how, along with Ronda Schwab. Rhonda.
We have our guest today, Virginia Bell from the Kansas Food Bank Warehouse. She's the executive director, and she's going to answer your questions in just a few minutes about what the Harvest Food Drive is about tomorrow. And right now, she's going to tell us what exactly the Kansas Food Bank does.
The Kansas Food Bank solicits and distributes food to agencies. The agencies, in turn, feed the needy, or the poor, or the people who need extra food during the month.
Okay, and why do you hold the food drive each year, Virginia?
Well, initially, the food drive was started by the Wichita Junior League, the Kansas Food Bank, and Channel 12 to call attention to the fact that there are hungry people that sort of fall through the loophole, that the government checks or whatever, it doesn't cover their needs. So we wanted to call attention to that fact, plus provide a service to our agencies. And this food we distribute to our agencies free of charge. There's no charge to anybody connected with this food drive. All the food is free.
Okay, we'll get right to the phones now and answer the questions on the people's minds. You're on Newstalk, go ahead.
Yes, for those of us who might like to give money rather than food, where could we send that to, and how should the check be paid?
The Kansas Food Bank Warehouse, 806 East Boston, 67211.
And if you didn't get that, we'll have it for you at the front desk if you want to call our studio.
All right.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, you're on Newstalk.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Question for you. How do you deduce, who gets the food and how much is given to them?
We take the list of agencies that normally receive from the food banks. This is Wichita agencies only. And they file reports with us each month that tell us how many people they feed. According to the number of people they feed, that's the amount of food that they get from the food drive. It's distributed evenly to all Wichita agencies.
Okay, at one time, we were helped, my husband and I, were by one of the food banks. Can we take the food to them, and would that still count in the food drive?
It wouldn't count in our total. If you bring it by the Kansas Food Bank Warehouse, it will count in the total, and your agency probably will still get it.
Okay, we're out of time. We're going to have to go now. Virginia, just real quickly, how successful was last year, and what do you expect for this year?
We did 200,000 pounds last year. We're trying to do 200,000 pounds this year. I think we'll make it.
Okay, everyone come on out and help us out tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, Rhonda and Virginia. A steep slide in the dollar on foreign exchange.